What the city is talking about, the news that impacts you. Welcome to the Montreal Now podcast with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Welcome to another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and this week, these stories. Canada's Auditor General found some significant shortcomings in how the federal government rolled out emergency COVID benefits. That shortcoming, by the way, amounting to billions of dollars. We asked listeners what they thought should be done to get that money back.
We tackled two topics this week with the man known as the food professor, SYLVAIN CHARLEBOIS. So as bad as food inflation is right now, will it be even worse next year? And will lab-grown chicken be coming soon to a supermarket near you? Also, December 6th was the 33rd anniversary of the Polytechnique massacre in Montreal. We spoke to a survivor. She was shot 4 times that day and has dedicated much of her life since to fighting violence against women.
But we begin with this. The COP15 conference on sustainable biodiversity is taking place in Montreal all this week, bringing environmental activists from around the world together. But one topic that isn't on the agenda should be, according to our next guest.
Stephanie FELDSTEIN is Population and Sustainability Director at the Center for Biological Diversity, and this is actually in the U.S. in Tucson, Arizona, but this is in today's Montreal Gazette because it's about COP15. It's something that we have not, or at least not that I can remember, have talked about when we talk about sustainable biodiversity, and that is simply population growth. Think about it. We just passed 8 billion people on the planet not that long ago. And I think Stephanie, who's on the line right now, Stephanie, your concern here is there is nothing, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing in what we're going to hear from COP15 that addresses this as far as you know, or is there?
That's right. I mean, so far there's been no indication that they're really going to talk about population growth. I mean, it's such a key piece of the puzzle, and it's largely been left out of the picture.
Can you explain why this needs to be in the picture? People just look at this and go, well, okay, there's more people on the planet. There will continue to be, and that's the end of that. But
well, and I think we also keep hearing here in Quebec, right, that we have a labor shortage and Quebecers aren't having enough babies. So it's almost the opposite messaging that's happening here.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. And at the basic level, as you said, we just passed 8 billion people on the planet. And that's only about 11 years since we hit 7 billion. So our population is still growing rather quickly. And every single person on the planet needs food, water, fuel, and a place to call home. And that puts enormous pressure on biodiversity. I mean, there's never been another large animal that has grown as much, as quickly, or with such devastating consequences for life on Earth as humans have. And, you know, the other part of this that's so important is that the solutions to population growth are all based in advancing human rights and equity, which also need to be an important part of this biodiversity conversation for so many other reasons, to make sure that everybody is involved in this conversation, everybody's involved in these solutions, and that everybody has the reproductive freedom to determine their own futures.
All right, so can you basically qualify that? Everyone needs to be involved, and by doing what, and how do governments get involved in this? What's their responsibility here?
Yeah, there are a number of ways that governments can address this. One is expanding reproductive rights, making sure everybody has the tools, the knowledge, and the ability to choose if and when they want to have children and how many, as well as advancing gender equity. That's making sure that women and girls have access to education, that they're able to stay in school, have access to economic opportunities, as well as leadership positions. It's so important that women are part of this conversation, and we've seen that when women are in leadership positions, there tend to be more conservation measures being passed. There tend to be better outcomes for people and the planet.
In your piece in the Gazette, in your op-ed, you write about how over a million species are at risk of going extinct in the coming decades. And I think a lot of people hear that and they think, yeah, but there's so many other species. What's the big deal? Could you maybe explain why that is so crucial?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do hear that response too, but it's always shocking to me because the idea to me of losing a million species is so devastating. And it's because we live in this world of really complex ecosystems, and we never know when we lose one species, if that is a species that is going to really unravel the tapestry of an entire ecosystem. I mean, we've seen this a lot in North America, for example, with wolves. When wolves are removed from an ecosystem, it affects all of the other species, and they're from elk to beavers to the trees that the herbivores are feeding on, and the entire ecosystem changes whether there is the presence of a species like wolves. But we also see it with smaller species as well. For example, freshwater mussels. We don't realize how important they are to filtering water, to making sure that we have these clean and safe freshwater ecosystems, both for us and for all of the other species who depend on them.
Mm-hmm. You know, as you say this, I mean, we can all sit here and nod and agree with what you're saying because, of course, it's true. I just wonder, you know, when you have a conference like we have here with COP15, where there are almost 20,000 delegates from around the world sitting and discussing sustainable biodiversity, yet population control doesn't seem to be one of the issues. That's got to be a little disheartening. I just wonder, as someone who's pointing out the inconsistencies here, how do you begin to change that?
That's an excellent question, and that's bringing it up really within all of the different member countries as well. Just last year, we also saw that the IUCN adopted a new proposal where they acknowledge that connection between biodiversity and gender equity. And so starting to bring it to the table is so important to this. And there is an opportunity even beyond this initial framework to look at how the monitoring framework plays out and how the actual implementation of what's agreed on plays out. And there's still an opportunity to bring things like gender equity and reproductive rights into that picture.
So it's happening right now, COP15. The protests are ongoing downtown as we speak. What's the number one thing you would like to see or you hope to see achieved at this edition? I
think the number one thing for me is the urgency. Just overall looking at all of the different factors, including population growth that go into this, is really recognizing that we need to stop extinctions starting now, that we can't have these lengthy deadlines that push it down the road while wildlife continue to go extinct. We need to address the issues now.
Let's hope that message gets across, because clearly it certainly needs to. Yes. Stephanie, thank you so much for your time today. Very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stephanie FELDSTEIN at the Center for Biological Diversity.
Population and Sustainability Director. She wrote this op-ed in the Gazette.
Isn't it amazing, though, as you pointed out that article, in this op-ed about 1 million species risking extinction?
I hear, I mean, not in my circle, but I've heard people say things like, well, what's the big deal? So get rid of them. Who needs mosquitoes? Who needs bats? Well, no, but that's not. As she said,
I wonder one thing, though, right? Here we are, 8 billion people. I think I read as part of this piece, we add 300 million people to the mix every week or every month. Regardless, at what point do you just have too many people on the planet? I mean, I know
have we already passed that point?
I don't know. That's a fair question to ask, isn't it?
Sustainability, yeah.
Is it 9 billion, 10 billion, 15 billion? Where are we going?
We're not going anywhere unless we change things.
This is Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Brian Callisar, one cool thing for today. What do we got?
First I got to do this for you.
No.
Here comes the judge.
Aaron Judge has signed a $360 million deal with the New York Yankees.
Yes!
So Aaron Judge will be back in New York. He was a San Francisco Giant for just 1 day.
So they matched the offer? Is that the idea?
They matched his offer, but he's making $150 million more than what the Yankees were offering him in the spring.
Wow.
So it was kind of
the bidding war helped.
Exactly.
Good for him. I mean, it's an obscene amount of money, but I'm glad it's not even for you, Natasha. It's not even the most expensive contract in history. That belongs to Mike Trout at $426.5 million.
No one should make that much.
Okay, there are a lot of potentially dangerous hazards around the holiday season, and it isn't just eating raw cookie dough. In a brand new survey, 30% of Canadians say they've been injured during various holiday-related activities, whether it was minor or it sent them to the emergency room. Of those, the injuries include cutting themselves while wrapping or opening presents, slipping outdoors, cooking for the holidays, being burned by a candle, tripping over a holiday-related object, falling from a ladder or furniture trying to hang decorations, and of course, putting Christmas lights on the roof. Oh, and there's just one little more stat that I have to give you about the holiday-related injuries. 12% of those who were injured say they were intoxicated at that time.
Wow, that's surprising.
It's the holidays.
It's surprising that it's only 12% is what's surprising. Okay.
Happy holidays.
Same to you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Informative, interactive, and always interesting. This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
December 6th was the 33rd anniversary of the Polytechnique massacre in Montreal. We spoke to a survivor. She was shot 4 times that day and has dedicated much of her life since to fighting violence against women. 14 women lost their lives. 13 others were injured. It was a day, honestly, it was a day that changed everything. There was a sense of shock, of horror, of loss, and it was felt all across the country, but certainly I would say most here in Montreal. She was there. She was shot 4 times, and she survived. NATHALIE Provost has since dedicated much of her life to working to prevent what happened to her from happening to others. So NATHALIE is a Polytechnique Survivor. She's also a spokesperson for the gun control group PolySeSouvient, and she joins us now. Thank you so much for your time today, NATHALIE.
Thank you for receiving me. Good afternoon.
Nice to speak with you again, too. And whenever we talk, I think, well, we shouldn't only talk on this occasion. I wish we talked more frequently. 33 years, though, NATHALIE. I bet in many ways it feels like yesterday.
Yes, and even in weeks, like what we've been through this year, it goes so quickly for 30 years. So, yes, I'm still here.
And how do you feel like on a day like today? I mean, it must be unpleasant to think about it and to relive it, and yet this is part of your life's mission.
Yeah, you understand correctly. I decided to get involved to improve my society in the way I can, in a way that have a relation with what happened in Polytechnique. And it helps me bearing witness and keeping alive the memories of my colleagues at school.
On that day, you were shot 4 times, and without asking you, because I'm sure it's very painful to relive it, I understand that you did speak to the gunman. Are you able to tell us what you said to him?
Yes, but I think that everyone here must remember where we were as a society 33 years ago. First of all, I think I, as a young woman, but also the society, we were an innocent society regarding gun violence. We didn't know about that. So it was a huge, I would use the word surprise. We cannot imagine something like that in Montreal, in my country. So when we saw that guy holding a gun, shooting in the war, nobody could believe what it was. And I don't think I was able to take it seriously at the beginning. I remember one of my classmates saying to us, whoa, that's real one. That's dangerous. But I didn't know at that time. So, and I was involved in student union, so I was used to use my voice. So I asked him, "Why are you there? What's happening?" And he told us that he was against feminists, and that's why he was there, and that was why he chose us. And I said, "Oh no, we're not feminists. You can study at Polytechnique if you want. You just have to apply, and you'll be with us." And that's where it all began. He shot at us, and it's so quick, and it's so awful, and it didn't take a minute to shoot 30 bullets in all of us, and nobody got rid of him that day. Everyone was hurt. 6 of my classmates died, and the 2 other with me survived, but were wounded and severely wounded. So I really would like a Canada where something like that will never happen again. I'm not naive now. I'm no more innocent. But if we can find a way to reduce the probabilities, I think we owe it to my colleagues, but I also think we owe it to our kids now.
So, and again, it's difficult to listen to this. None of us can obviously imagine what you might have been going through. I'd never heard that story before, NATHALIE, that when you spoke to him, you had the impression that he was upset. We knew the issue was feminism, but you said to him, you could come here to study too, and at that point he just said nothing and started shooting?
From what I remember, and sorry, for sure my memories are not so clear.
Of course.
But that's the idea of what happened, yes.
Okay. And you mentioned about kids today. You have your own children now.
How do you talk to your, I want you to know that I spoke about it with my daughter this morning. She's 10 and she needed to hear that there were survivors. And so it made her feel better to know that I was going to be speaking to a survivor today. It gave her hope. Mm-hmm. How do you talk to your children about it, Nathalie?
Oh, they were very, very young when I began telling her about that. Because at first, you know how kids are. They make noise, and sometimes they drop things, and it makes very big noise, sudden noises. And it made me mad because of what happened to me. So I had to explain them why I was that mad with noises. So they know that I had strange reactions. And they were able to see at the marks on my body. So and when they played, they played with, they created a rifle with branches or with wood. So I had to explain to them, I had to tell them that something awful can happen in life, but that we can recover and we can stand up. But it's also because of my children that today I am public and I am an advocate for gun control. Because when my oldest son was 12 years old, we saw a TV program and he realized that I wasn't there. And I said, no. And he asked me why. I said, because I've already said what I had to say to a lot of people in the first years after the massacre. And he said, but you never explain everything to me, Mama. And I just then realized that that's true. You know, parts of it, but I've never explained to my son exactly what it was. So it made me think a lot of what can I do and the responsibility to bear witness when you are involved in something like that. And I'm so gifted by life. I'm alive. And I have the possibility to bring something to my society. So it made me realize that I had to go back in the room again and do it the best I can. So that's what I'm doing years after years since the 20th anniversary.
You're a hero.
Yeah, absolutely you are. And for all those people listening, it's important that we look back and remember and never forget this day. I assume you will be today at the vigil later this afternoon?
Yes, okay. I will be there.
We will hear more about that later. Thank you so much for your time today, Nathalie. Very, very much appreciated.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Oh,
have a nice day.
You
Nathalie
too.
Provost.
Thank you so much.
Survivor.
Polytechnique Survivor and spokesperson for PolySeSouvient.
This is Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
So here's the story. This is one of those unbelievable stories until you realize there's video action. I saw this the other day on TV. This is pretty wild. So the Tampa, Florida police chief, her name is Mary O'Connor, has resigned. Why? Well, she tried and succeeded in talking her way out of a traffic ticket by telling the deputy that pulled her over that she was, quote, the chief of police, which she was. And guess what? It was all recorded.
Stopped you because you driving unregistered vehicle with no tag on it.
Is your camera on?
It is.
I'm the police chief in Tampa.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you'll just let us go tonight.
Now that you say you look familiar, so.
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
All right, folks. Well, have a good night. All right, take care.
Sorry to bother you.
All right, no worries. No worries. It was nice meeting you.
All right. If you ever need anything, call me.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
Thank you.
So, take care.
By the way, you didn't hear it in there. She then proceeded to give him her card and said, call me. Well, you heard her say, call me if you ever need anything. So it was all recorded as she said, your camera's on. And a couple of days later, she was forced to step down.
I mean,
I love that you're like, I can't believe I just heard that. Yeah, that actually happened.
I'm stunned by even with the camera on and you're recording it, she somehow thought that was going to be okay, that this is just how things work.
You know what the weirdest part of that story is?
What?
They were pulled over while driving a golf cart. with no tag on it, no license plate, which you need a plate of some kind to drive that thing. But her husband or somebody was driving. She was a passenger and it got pulled over.
Oh my goodness. What a thing to lose your job over. Well, she should be smarter than that.
You think?
Oh.
Well, she'll have plenty of time to think about that in her new job.
Oh my gosh.
Asking questions, looking for answers. Here's more of Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Canada's Auditor General found some significant shortcomings in how the federal government rolled out emergency COVID benefits. That shortcoming, by the way, amounting to billions of dollars. We asked listeners what they thought should be done to get that money back.
In 2020, the government decided to rely on information provided by applicants and limit prepayment controls to expedite helping people and employers affected by the pandemic. We found that overpayments of $4.6 billion were made to ineligible individuals, and we estimated that at least $27.4 billion of payments to individuals and employers should be investigated further.
Let me say that again. $27 billion, and according to her, as the Auditor General, should be investigated.
It's bananas.
Oh, wait. Here's the kicker.
The agency and the department are not planning to verify payments made to all identified recipients who may not be eligible for COVID-19 benefit programs.
What? Play that again, Brian. I'm sorry. What did she say?
The agency and the department are not planning to verify payments made to all identified recipients who may not be eligible for COVID-19 benefit programs.
Well.
Don't we need that money?
Apparently not, even though we know that much of that money went to the wrong people or people who figured out how to game the system. You heard her say federal agencies responsible for recovering that money are going to end up writing much of this off because apparently the system in place to recover it isn't scaled to get it all back. It's kind of like a retail store writing off a portion of its losses every year to theft. It's the same kind of an idea, only this is the government. And we're not talking about hundreds or thousands. We're talking about billions of dollars. It's just a fact of life. So what do you think should happen here? Should the government just write it off because, hey, it was an emergency. It was more important to get money out the door than to scrutinize who was getting it. And let's face it, when it comes to money, we know the honor system. Yeah, that doesn't always work so good. Should the government maybe go after only the biggest fraudsters? And there are companies involved, by the way, who got possibly millions of dollars and leave the little guy alone? Or do you think it should bear down and spend the time and the money and make the effort to get every penny back that was fraudulently obtained? Tina, what do you think?
I totally agree because they said that they were going to go after people that defrauded the system. And now if they are going to, turn around and say we're not going to go after them, it's setting a message, a precedent, and it's not smart.
Do we go after the little guys too? The people who got that $500 a week CERB check thinking that perhaps they deserved it or didn't?
How long they got it for, and if they weren't entitled to it, then they should be, chased after as well.
I got it. Tina, thank you so much. Bram, what do you think?
Well, if I'd have known I could have stolen the money, I'd probably applied for it myself. But the fact is that the government doesn't do anything efficiently, and the fact that they've only got 5% back a year after they stopped sending money out is kind of indicative. They've had all the tax returns, and the computers do the analysis. Yeah. But governments are not good at executing programs efficiently.
That's a very fair point to make. I think we all have, there's some history of that obviously that exists. I wonder though, the one thing we heard throughout this entire pandemic from governments and agencies was they simply didn't have the staff to even handle all this kind of stuff. And I wonder now, are they going to hire thousands of people to go ahead and go after this money or just work with the staff that they have? I'm not sure. That wasn't part of the announcement that I heard. But Bram, I thank you for the call. We appreciate that. Sean, what do you think?
Hi, Natasha.
Hey.
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, I think they should go after everybody. Actually, they came after me for $1,000.
Oh.
After I got it, I called them because I thought I'd overpaid. And they said, no, everything's good. And then a year later, I retired. And 6 months ago, they sent me a notice saying I owed them $1,000.
For what? For CERB money that you claimed?
Yeah. Like whenever I got it, I was thinking there's something wrong with this one statement where I seem to get a double payment. So I called them, and they said, no, it's so I let it go. And then, like I said, I retired since then. And then in the summertime, I got a notice saying that they had, given me over $1,000. But I think they must have a lot of artificial intelligence. They must be able to go through all these different files. Mm-hmm. It's not like people sitting there with, reams of paperwork,
Yeah,
I think you're right,
I
Sean.
wouldn't be so sure about that artificial intelligence part,
after the Phoenix pay system too. How well's that working? But Sean, I have a question for you. So I love that you took it upon yourself to call them and be like, "Hey, I think you overpaid me." And they're like, "No." So when you got the notice, did they charge any interest?
No, I just got a notice saying that they'd paid me over $1,000. So I figured, okay, how do I figure this out?
Okay.
So I just went and sent them a check for $1,000 off of my pension check.
Oh, that hurts.
Honest guy.
Oh,
Sean, thank you so much for the call. Sam, what about you? What's your answer to this problem?
I don't see it as an issue. I think that if people got the money, inadvertently or unjustly, they absolutely have to pay it back. And I think it's the government's responsibility to chase everybody who was not supposed to receive the money. I got a letter in the mail, like the gentleman just before. I'm not retired, but I got a letter in the mail that we were overpaid $1,600. We investigated. I called my accountant. We went through the numbers, and we were overpaid. So we were making payments. We're paying the money back. And I think that's what needs to be done. I know the government has their inefficiencies as a matter of principle and as a matter of money. The government should be getting their money back. Absolutely.
You know what? In your case, though, this is interesting. So you were overpaid and ended up giving the money back. But what about people who fraudulently applied for this, took the money, and got it? That's a bit of a different situation, right?
That is a different situation. The government has to chase whoever they can, whether it's fraudulent, whether it's honest mistakes, it doesn't matter. The government's responsibility is to me, the taxpayer. If somebody is getting my money and they're not supposed to be, I want it back.
Fair enough.
Great call.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate
These
that.
are great. And the text on the text line, too. This one says, I feel like the government is basically saying crime does pay. Danny says there's a lot of companies doing the happy dance. I think bigger companies that took money should be investigated and at this point leave everybody else alone. They threw money at people to help the economy. Now, if they try to take it all back, what repercussions will there be?
Fair enough. Vanessa, what about you? What do you think should happen here?
No, I'm on board with the last two people. I was pinned for $2,000, which I'm currently now paying back. I obtained it legitimately, but when I did get a notice, I got an email. I didn't even believe it was real because I was genuinely in need. And when I called them back, they explained what happened. They explained to me that they gave money to everybody before any claims went through.
Right.
And frankly, it's the government's fault. Because they don't just do this with tax money. They go after the honest people all the time, whether it's the drivers for not watching out for pedestrians and cyclists, even though sometimes it's not our fault, whether it's the illegal gun owners or the legitimate gun owners.
Again,
they go always over the honest people, and I'm honestly tired of it.
Did you pay the money back, Vanessa?
I'm currently doing so.
You're doing
I have
that now?
$900 left to pay.
Okay.
And frankly, if this is the point, then I want my other $1,200 back.
Okay.
Because I genuinely needed it.
Yeah,
and
why you?
I applied for unemployment insurance, and they actually said they didn't have that money, so they sent out $2,000 to everybody.
Okay.
And I was like, how responsible is that?
I imagine this is 3 calls in a row, all saying money that, mistakenly was deposited into their accounts that had to be paid back. So apparently this is pretty widespread. Vanessa, thank you for the call. Debbie, what about you? What do you think?
I'm in accord with everybody else. Pay it back. Because it's not the government's money. The government is us. That's my money. And yes, it was sent out to help everybody. But when you realize that you received it illegally or incorrectly or whatever, pay it back.
Okay.
On the text line, I was working in healthcare during the pandemic. It was so stressful, very long hours, and I know perfectly abled, educated people who took CERB instead of finding a job get every penny back, this texter says.
Okay, not a lot of sympathy out there. Jerry, what about you? What do you think should happen in this case?
Oh, everybody, there are a lot of people ahead of me that basically made my point, but I'm going to put it out this way. The government doesn't have any money. They only have what they take from us through various taxes. So it's really our money. And there are people who say, well, I'm entitled to it because, well, it's my money anyway, and I just want what's mine, what I think is mine. But no, these people that have got the CERB and the other things wrong, and they refuse to pay it back. Well, it's our money. And they essentially they stole it from us because, like I said, the government doesn't have any money. They only have what they take from us.
Okay. Mm-hmm. These have been great phone calls, right? All making very, very good points.
Ronnie on the text line says, seriously, honesty is clearly not the best policy. Yeah. I'm a senior on a limited income. I was not eligible. Therefore, I didn't apply despite being encouraged by some people around me to do so. I was told to apply anyway and then try to get it back, pay it back later if needs be. And then Ronnie says, now I'm wondering if I regret it or does it still pay to be honest in this case?
You know, it's very funny he asked that. How many people do you remember at the time when this was happening, right? We're saying, go ahead, apply anyway. If you get it, you get it. It doesn't matter. Well,
and you can always pay it back or whatever. But
they'll forget. They won't. They're going to forget. It doesn't matter. So I imagine a few people got caught up in something like that because that's what people were saying. Take it and worry about what happens later.
The best in all of this was the people working for the government who fraudulently applied and claimed CERB benefits.
Yeah, who worked in the department handing out the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to Canada, although let's not paint everyone with the same brush.
The stories in the news that are worth your time. Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
You have, of course, heard by now, this is not going to come as news. I think the news is the fact that the inflation as far as food prices are concerned shows no end. And that's the news this week. Dr. SYLVAIN Charlebois, who's Senior Director at Agri-Food Analytics Lab and a professor at Dalhousie University, is on the line. And I understand we reach you today in Banff, Alberta, and you just finished telling us you're not leaving your car today, right?
No, it's minus 20. It just landed a few hours ago. It's actually snow. It's beautiful, you know. If you've been to Banff close to Christmas, it's just a beautiful city, but you know, Halifax was 10 degrees, so it's a bit rough on the body right now.
Oh, well, I'm sure you'll have no trouble finding a drive-through, so you'll be fine.
I'm sure.
All right, let's talk about this continuing inflation. We've talked about inflation food for a while now. My question today, as we see new numbers projecting into the future, is there an end date in sight anywhere?
Yeah, food inflation is the gift that keeps on giving, I guess. It's 2023 will offer us a tale of two stories. So the first half is likely going to look a lot like 2022. We are expecting prices to increase across the board, but in the second half, we're expecting an economic slowdown, and that really tends to put pressure on prices downwards. More specials, more loss leaders. So, a recession is not something that we want, but there is a silver lining. It may actually be the grocery store may actually become more affordable.
I read a quote by you that said that consumers will continue to get smarter about grocery shopping, navigating through the so-called food inflation storm. So, SYLVAIN, that it brings up two questions for me. One, it infers somehow that maybe it shouldn't be as bad as it is. Is it being falsely inflated? Are we getting gouged? And then if we're going to get smarter, how do we get smarter, SYLVAIN?
Well, actually, I was in Ottawa yesterday testifying before the standing committee in Agri-Food about food inflation, and some executives were in the room as well, Loblaws and Empire Sobeys, and we were all asking ourselves the question whether or not there is abuse out there, and we haven't found any evidence at retail. We do have some concerns up the food chain. Really, it's like, you know, a lot of people are blaming grocers. It's like blaming your waiter at a restaurant when you're served a cold dish or the dish has something wrong with it. It may not be the server's fault. It may actually be back of the house where there's a problem. So you kind of have to look at things a little bit more wisely when you look at inflation. But the one thing that we need to remind ourselves is that Canada actually has the second lowest food inflation rate amongst the G7 countries. And if you add Holland and Denmark, two agri-food super powerhouses, we're still number 2 after Japan. So in the grand scheme of things, we're not doing too badly, but I don't think it's going to change the mind of people in Montreal going shopping and seeing skyrocketing prices at the grocery store.
Well, okay, so I understand. I know we all at the beginning were wondering what was bringing this on. So yes, we have a falling dollar, the situation in Ukraine. We talked a lot, SYLVAIN, about supply constraints. Yes, the situation in Ukraine is still as bad as it was, but some of those other things seem to have eased. Not the dollar, because it continues to fall, but supply constraints, from what I hear, it's not as big an issue anymore. So why are we still seeing this happen?
You know, over the last 3-4 years, we've seen a sequence of several macroeconomic factors, really, and it has not stopped. And there's always pockets of things that are really pushing prices higher. Look at lettuce, for example, in November. Lettuce went up 30% across the country. I don't know exactly what happened in Montreal. If you had a hard time getting lettuce, I suspect that you were having a hard time getting lettuce anywhere.
It was really
expensive. Or if you did find that it was expensive, that's due to California and the drought, climate change. So there's always something going on that is pushing prices higher these days, and that's why we kind of say it's this and that, but every SKU at the grocery store, every vertical, every product will have its own story.
This number that Canadian families, the food price report predicting that we're going to spend $1,065 more on food next year. I mean, I find that quite shocking. And you say we're going to get better, right, as consumers and trying to find deals. How do we get better, Sylvain? Where do we start to try and not spend that much?
Well, first of all, you're in Montreal, okay? Montreal is known as the hub of independent grocers in Canada. That's where you find the highest number of independent grocers. Those grocers are not big box stores. They're small, but they're good. And they offer quality, and that quality sometimes will come at a cheap price.
You're right.
What I would do, I would alternate between 2 and 3 stores over 2-3 weeks. Not everyone can actually go and visit 2-3 stores every week. Just go to one store, and before you leave your home, look on the internet and see exactly what the fair value of a product is on your list. When you show up at the grocery store, if a price you see doesn't match the price on your list, just walk away. Discipline will actually pay off. And then the next week, go for that product, and you'll see, what you'll find out is that prices actually change every single day. Price dynamics are completely different than just 2-3 years ago.
Okay, well, that makes us feel a little bit better. Before we let you go, I want to talk about, you're talking about we're a hub for growing things and that we're doing better on that front. I remember talking about lab grown meat, and I think we spoke to you once and you were about to eat a steak or ate a steak that had been on your counter at room temperature for like 2 weeks. So can you talk to us a little bit about the future of lab grown meat and lab grown poultry?
Well, that steak that was sent to me from Hong Kong was actually real steak. It was just wrapped into some high-tech packaging, allowing it to be transported kilometers, thousands of kilometers at room temperature.
Okay.
And I ate it. It was great. Now, we're talking about cellular proteins grown in a lab, okay? And it's the same thing as chicken or beef or pork, but instead of feeding animals, you're feeding cells with amino acids and different sort of vitamins and things like that. And over 2-3 weeks, you end up with a piece of meat. So it just got approved in the United States by the FDA, and that was a big deal. So in the United States, they're months away from getting the approval of the USDA, and then you'll start seeing chicken, cellular chicken.
Wow.
They don't like the word lab grown, by the way, because lab grown doesn't really taste good, doesn't sound good. They use cellular or cultivated chicken, and and to produce cultivated chicken is cheaper. You don't have to deal with avian flu. You don't have to deal with E. coli or salmonella. You don't have to deal with animal welfare advocates. I mean, there's a lot of pluses out there that are making venture capitalists invest a lot of money in these technologies.
How's it taste?
I haven't tasted it. I actually tasted lab cheese just about three months ago, I guess, from Remilk in Israel. It was sent to me as a research sample, and it was cream cheese, actually, and my wife put regular cream cheese on one cracker, the Remilk cream cheese on the other. Couldn't taste the difference at all.
Wow.
So this is the future.
Okay.
This is the future. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, impossible cream cheese. Dr. SYLVAIN Charlebois from Dalhousie University, thanks so much for the time this afternoon. Good luck in dealing with the minus 20 the rest of the day.
Stay warm. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
That wraps up another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and we will see you next week.
Have a fantastic week.
This has been the Montreal Now podcast with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. Listen live on your radio weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on CJAD 800 or through the iHeartRadio app.